Here with Dan Morgan, a partner at Morgan and Morgan, and a diehard Orlando Magic fan. And like many of us that grew up in the '90s, Penny Hardaway and Shaquille O'Neal stole our hearts. And I don't care where you lived, you had Orlando Magic swag. So live from Orlando, Dan, what's going on, man?
How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
No problem. I wanted to dive into something. Obviously, you guys are doing a big campaign on this show and on our network. You know a lot about the legalities of life. Most of us just kind of watch television shows and think we're, could be a lawyer. So obviously, I don't think I could ever pass the bar. So that's impressive in itself. But
Either did I, so anything's possible.
obviously, from a football standpoint, in your neck of the woods, though, you're an SEC guy, right? You're a Florida guy.
I am a Gator. So
You're a Gator. So, what was your initial take when you saw that Florida State was left out?
my initial take as a Gator fan was this is a consolation prize on our terrible season. But if I was a Florida State fan, I'd be pretty upset myself. Obviously, I think that they're obviously probably one of the most deserving teams to win or to get into the playoffs. Obviously, the way it shook out wasn't great. The committee has kind of their reasons for doing it. But yeah, if I was a Florida State fan, I would not be too happy with the state of affairs in college football right now.
And from a legal standpoint, I saw within the last couple of days, DeSantis, because they're state school. I'm a state school grad, so you get funding. He's not happy, and rightfully so, because the difference of going to the Orange Bowl or the playoffs is worth potentially over $10 million. Is something that I read. Now, listen, I didn't pass the bar, but clearly in the language, they left it pretty open-ended. So is it fair to say that legal action representing Florida State, that their case would be pretty difficult?
I would say it'll be a very uphill battle. We've had I would say I'm not sure, I don't want to say thousands, but I would definitely say we've had hundreds of Florida State fans call our law firm seeking representation for us to take on this case. We actually did take a hard look at it and see if there was a way to go about it, or if there was an angle to worth pursuing. It wasn't a case that we're personally going to be taking on. And obviously our firm isn't all Gators. We got our managing partner of our Orlando office, our Tallahassee office, they're all Knowles. So obviously they're definitely trying to kind of lead the charge as well. But when you really look at, like you said, how open-ended it is, they give kind of the criteria. And if a judge was to really look at it from a black letter law type of standpoint, the committee did do what they said they were going to do. They took in, there's that fourth prong that really gave them that wiggle room to balance Florida State, which said if a coach is, not with the team or a player is injured, they would, that gives grounds to not, be included. I think that was kind of tipping the hat to maybe Harbaugh if he wasn't coaching, or if anything else happened, they could kind of be able to have more liberty to put who they thought the best teams were in. And that's really what they stand by. They say, hey, it's the best teams. If you look at, again, I'm a Gator. I watched the Gator Florida State game. We were right up into the fourth quarter, and I don't think any team that should be in the playoffs should be toe to toe with the Gators. You saw what Georgia did to us this year. I think that's kind of a team that should be in the playoffs. I'm a huge Jordan Travis fan. I actually know his brother Devin pretty well as well, Florida State guy. He played with the Blue Jays, so I know the family. I know Florida State. My heart goes out to them, but I think unfortunately the committee had the ability to do what they did. I understand, DeSantis and Rick Scott, they're politicians. A lot of their voters are Florida State fans, so they're going to say what they have to say to keep in their good graces. But I think they should focus on some more important issues in college football.
One thing I wonder moving forward as they go to the 12-team playoff, which in theory should be easier, but we all know, you see it with the NCAA tournament, it's not going to be.
Exactly.
If they could add, because a big argument for Florida State was, look at the betting lines. If they had played Michigan, hell, if you put them against Georgia, if you put them against some of the teams, they're a double-digit, they're 14-point underdog against Georgia.
Yeah.
I wonder if that criteria now with gambling, it's not universally legal, right? I think it's like 37 of the 50 states, but you throw that in to factor to even make your argument, because that was a huge argument for us sports fans. Like one guy I used to work with at Fresno State is now Norvell's general manager. I followed that program closely, and I don't think anyone would argue if Jordan Travis was healthy, even if they got in the way they got in, it was ugly. They're in. But once you guys knocked out their backup quarterback. So the guy we had to watch which was kind of crazy. Slid a little late. I thought those guys, two guys that hit him, got a raw deal. What are they supposed to do? Float? But
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder
That's
if you throw in the gambling element to the criteria to even make a better argument to give the committee in the future even more wiggle room.
I mean, I like it. I mean, Florida is one of those states. So I'm on one of those apps now down here.
Hell yeah.
And they get it right. I don't know how they do it, but it's like it's a half point. The over is always coming down to the final drive. It's always, you're getting beat by 2 points, 1 point. So whatever those systems in, they know something. I mean, the real kick's going to be if Florida State goes and shocks the world and, beats Georgia, by multiple touchdowns or even just wins. Now now they're like, uh-oh, what have we done? I don't think that's going to happen, especially with players.
No.
Not playing and all that type of things that are going on. But no, I definitely think that's kind of what back in the day, the BCS, took all the rankings. It was a computer model. It took everything they knew, it spit it into a system and said, these are the four. I actually saw something this year, though, that said if they used the BCS, that I think like Florida State would have been that fourth thing. So, they obviously got kind of a raw deal this year.
I wanted to talk a little bit about your background because it's pretty fascinating. You had the opportunity to intern for Mark Cuban, as well as one of the most famous agents in all of sports, Dan Fegan, rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
And I get asked a lot of questions, as I'm sure you do, way more than even me. Advice and what to do in your life, and I always just go back to I had the opportunity to work for Andy Reid, and things that you see when you work for someone that you take away for yourself and you use moving forward. So with those two guys, let's start with Mark. When you worked for him, is there one specific thing that you think about more than everything else when you think about that experience and that you put toward now, running your guys' company and just how you operate in business?
What Mark was extremely good at was kind of trusting his top level commanders, no matter what that business was. When I first got involved, I actually met him at a political fundraiser. He was guest bartender. I just kind of walked up, cold called, hey, I'm Dan Morgan. I'm a huge fan of you. I want to own a sports team one day. You're an inspiration, yada, yada. His first reaction's like, what the hell are you doing here? You're an 18-year-old kid at an old man political party. We kept talking and he was like, hey, he was in Orlando for the All-Star weekend. He's like, I hate to be that guy, but you got plans tonight. I'm trying to, go out in town. And I said, it was Marcus Jordan, Michael Jordan's son's birthday, who was playing at UCF, who I'm buddies with. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to Michael Jordan's son's birthday. He said, I'm coming with. And I said, well, that night when we were out, I asked for an internship. He's like, the fact that you took the initiative and you came up to me and you're self-starter, self-driver, those are the things that I'm always looking for in people to surround myself. And if you find self-starters, to keep them close and to enable them and give them power. So that's what I always try to do, even in what we do, whether it be managing an office or an attorney that manages case inventories or a person that manages attorneys or marketing people. It's really to find those people who are self-starters, self-reliant. They kind of know the task at hand. You can, my dad calls them send delete people. You can send them an email and then delete it on your end because it's being handled and you don't have to worry about it, opposed to having to follow up. Hey, I know I sent you this to do yesterday, just making sure it's done. Oh no, sorry, I haven't got to it yet. I'll hop on it now. Avoiding those people and just finding those people that you can send them a task and have it handled. Mark literally had those by the dozen surrounding him.
How much time, when you feel like this guy might not be, or girl, a send and delete person, do you spend on trying to help them out before you just realize it might not be a good fit? Because that's always kind of a tough balance, isn't it?
For sure. For me too, especially kind of, being one of the family members, name on the company, I always try to give the benefit of the doubt and really try to, it's not like a strike one, you're out, strike two, you're out. I really try to talk to them, say what we're looking for. Sometimes too, it's just finding the right fit for them. They might not be in the right role, the right position. You kind of can see what their skill sets are. They might not be front facing, whether it be talking to a client. They might be more of a behind the scenes person, being like a great writer or a great researcher. You kind of have to maneuver them and find them in their role, and just seeing why aren't you, what is the holdup here? And sometimes you get people that are honest, like, hey, this is just a high stress job, or, I'm not going to be able to handle the load that you're putting in front of me. And you kind of come to a mutual decision to part ways. I've been lucky and what I've been doing, running our referrals and our marketing, I think I've only had to let go 3 or 4 people that have been higher up. But I also hire people that I know from the start. So, the guy that runs our partnerships with us has done a lot of stuff with like UFC and sports teams and NASCAR. I've known him since high school. So once I was kind of building my team, I went out and got him. Now I have a guy that's helping me actually with the activation side. I met him in college, and he did stuff with like music festivals and Rolling Loud and those. So I knew it. So I went and just plugged him. So it's really recruiting all stars that are going to be all stars. Working with people that you admire and you respect and you want to hang out with. That way, it just makes the job obviously more fun. But
Yeah,
then
for sure.
but you're actually going to put a better product out as well.
How about something you took away from Dan Fegan?
Dan is the master negotiator. I mean, when it comes to using leverage and getting your deal done, he is the GOAT. His number is his number, and he's going to pay it. I actually got the job when I started working for Mark. I was on the Shark Tank side of deals. So when deals come in, you kind of see, are they real numbers? Is this real product? Yada, yada. And before a deal actually gets inked. So, a lot of those deals actually don't come to fruition because of legalities that happen on the back end. So I was kind of doing that. But then Mark found out I was buddies with a bunch of basketball players, and we started hanging out more off court, off stuff too. And I ended up getting helping Chandler Parsons land in Dallas. And then after that all went down, Dan Fegan told me, "Hey, next summer you're not working for Mark, you're coming to work for me." So I went and worked with him. But yeah, Dan would pretty much, this is my number, this is what's happening. And if you don't give me this, not only is he not coming here, but these other three players that I represent most likely will never play on your organization. I mean, I'm not sure of the legalities and all that back then. I was just an intern. I am a licensed agent now. I kind of dabble it. I don't do it, full time, but I'm not sure if that's really the right way to go about it. But I know that he was a man with a mission, that he would figure out the best way to do right by his players. And if you were his player, he was going to get you the best deal. That's what even my buddies that had him, they wouldn't even think about going to another agent because he was going to get him the best deal on the table. And that's what, we kind of strive at more and more. And then if you hire us, you're going to get the best settlement, the best verdict, the best result because you hired us. So that's kind of what I brought from Fegan and his many agencies that he's bought and sold and had fun with doing.
Well, I think a lot of people listening, whether it's negotiating for their company, whether you're doing for a client, whether it's Dan Fegan for a player, money's all relative, right? So if it's 100 grand or 100 million, it means a lot to that individual person. And listen, I've negotiated deals. There's a balance of like having balls and having stones, but also kind of understanding the market. Is that a balance? I'm sure you've learned through a million cases of like, there's a time to be aggressive and a time not. And sometimes it's just, you get a gut instinct of being around something long enough when to kind of put the pedal to the metal and go all in, and also when to like almost tip your hat and take a step back and like, this is actually a pretty good deal. Cause it's easy for ego to get involved, right?
Oh, exactly. Especially when you're dealing with NBA players, who all think they're just as good as LeBron James and should be getting paid as such. But Dan was good at kind of telling, hey, it's not going to get better than this. If I remember one time it was when I was interning there, a player, there was an offering deal. He's like, take this deal. It's a deal you're with. You're going to get a better deal. And the player's like, no, I want to be a free agent. I want to go play with, I forget the player at the time. He's my boy. We're going to get a deal. And Dan's like, all right, if that's what you want to do, you need to sign this document. He's like, what's this document? He's like, this is so you don't sue me. Once these deals don't come to fruition, you can't come back and say, Dan messed this up. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, I don't think you're going to get a better deal like this if you hit the free agent market, because this team's going to go spend this money on this guy if you burn him right now. And the player went to free agent market. The team went and got another player, and he ended up getting a deal for like $8 million less over 4 years than he would have if so. I mean, he definitely kind of crossed his T's and dotted his I's and knew what he was saying. But it helps to negotiate. When you're Danny, had so many assets. He had John Wall and Dwight Howard, Amari Stoudemire, had all these names. When you're kind of a solo agent, you kind of are at the mercy of the teams a lot of times.
I don't know if you had a chance to see, but the Ohtani deal is kind of making the rounds. 700 million, but he only took 2 million a year for 10 years, and he got 600 deferred. And to me, right, Bobby Bonilla's deal is pretty legendary, but time value money would say he would have been better off taking that money up front, investing it in. This one's kind of fascinating because California taxes, I read next year they're going to 14.4. So he's going to save potentially $100 million if he moves to Florida or Vegas or whatever. But what, time value money, he's potentially losing some. What were your initial thoughts when you saw that? Because it's kind of a first of its kind at the level and number in which is being thrown out, right?
I loved it personally. I'm all about kind of because I mean, you see some, and I've been around the agency world, and I have buddies that have gone through it too. But you see the guys that get the money and they spend the money. Now you're going to spend $700 million. I'd hope not. But yeah, when I saw the deal first came out, I saw a meme that was going around that said, "Congratulations to the IRS for signing a 10-year, $380 million
yeah.
contract." Like, shout out to those guys putting in the hard work and getting it done. This is historic. Congrats. But that's really what, I think that's what it is. He just looked at it like I can live. He's not going to be just getting 2 million. He got his New Balance deals. He's going to be probably on every, cereal box and shoe box and sports store all over Asia and California and New York and Boston and everywhere else in America. So he's going to be probably still making, just as much money on it. But now he's protecting himself against the taxes. Like you said, he'll probably get paid in a state like Florida or Texas or somewhere where the tax levels are not going to crush him. And he's going to still be living like a king in the next while he's playing for the Dodgers. I'm sure that if he goes to a restaurant, no one's going to be, who's got the bill type of deal. Shohei will make sure to put his card down. But no, I think I think a lot of, to that extent, obviously, he's got a lot of money off field coming so he can do it. But I think it should be, that hopefully this will somewhat be of a new trend or put it in just a safe vehicle, whether it be an annuity or a deferment or somewhere where you're kind of safeguarding these kids' future. Because one bad investment deal, I don't want to name names, but we all know the people out there that have made hundreds of millions and now they are paycheck to paycheck and on Cameo.
When you were working for Dan Fegan, how often did taxes come up when he was talking to his client to him?
It did.
Negotiating with the team, just how often was that an issue?
I remember him actually explaining to Dwight why Houston was better than LA, and Dwight just not like, no, you don't understand lifestyle. And Dan's like, no, this is real money. This is what playing in Houston makes you. This is what playing in LA makes you. But you get players like Dwight, who I would consider an acquaintance and a friend, but he likes to have a good time. He wants to be where he wants to be, and he wanted to be around Hollywood, and sometimes that is worth the trade-off. Do you want to live in Oklahoma City or do you want to live in New York City? I think KD, he had a lot more fun probably in Brooklyn than he did in OKC, and now he's team first in Phoenix, which is a good mix of the two probably. Yeah. But I think a lot of it, when you get into the NBA and the baseball of it, because they do get taxed by state too. So, but half your home game, that's a lot of money. So, Paulo Banchero, if he stays in Orlando, knock on wood, they max him out. He's going to make a whole lot more money than if he goes and plays for the Clippers, because half his games will be in Orlando, opposed to half them being in LA. But no, I think as the money gets bigger, it's more a factor. But if you're because that's when you realize, wow, that could be $2 million in taxes, opposed to that's only 200,000 taxes. Yeah, it might be worth 200,000 a year to live in 72-degree weather and have it rain 5 days a year.
For sure. And I want to get you out of here on this. Obviously, you guys are doing a big activation this year. I see you guys everywhere. Just tell us a little bit, forthepeople.com/John, what you guys are doing, what you guys stand for, and everything about Morgan & Morgan.
So yeah, we're a plaintiff first law firm. Our slogan is for the people. That's kind of what we do day in, day out. We kind of represent the little guy, whether it be against insurance companies, or pharmaceutical companies, or medical malpractice. We're an injury law firm. We're the largest injury law firm in America. As of, I believe, this year, we'll be over 1,000 lawyers, over 5,000 support staff. We're in all 50 states. We're over on 200 dockets a week, in courtrooms getting verdicts. Over this year, we'll pass the 20 billion mark on settlement money recovered via verdict or settlement or any types of litigation. So we're definitely in a grow mode. A lot of people know us. We're down in Florida, Southeast, Northeast, and now we've been expanding out to California the past 3-4 years. And now, like I said, we're in every state. So my dad has the slogan, grow or die. So we're going to continue to keep growing.
I like that.
We're infiltrating new sectors and new areas. We just, we're the official law firm of the UFC. We just did a deal with the PBR bull riding. We sponsor. I got my RCR hat here for Kyle Busch and Austin
Heck
Dillon.
yeah.
We'll be on Kyle Busch's car for the Clash out there in LA in February. So we're definitely trying to push and get our name out there and let people know, that Morgan's here. We're here to stay. We're the biggest. We're the baddest, and definitely think of us if you ever need us.
Well, I know this. You said you were running the marketing at the company. It's working because I see you guys. Obviously, you guys are on my podcast, but I see you everywhere. So congrats on all the success, and hopefully the Orlando Magic, maybe in season tournament next year's their year.
Playoffs.
Yeah, that's more important. Well, thanks, Dan. Appreciate you coming on, and have a great day.
Thanks for having me.